We work with a lot of YouTube creators, and we commonly see that one of the biggest mistakes creators make is they work really hard at making what they feel like is the perfect video. It is efficient, it cuts out all the fluff, and is right to the point, the most valuable way to deliver this content. And then it just falls flat. And the real mistake here is that creators are really good at communicating information, but not always as good at making the viewer feel something as a result of watching the content, and especially not feel something strongly enough to make them want to come back and subscribe and maybe even become a customer of your business. Today, we're going to talk a lot about how to fix all that so that people want to keep coming back and consuming more of your content on YouTube.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yeah, we get it. We're here today to help you change that.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode like we do here every week to help you grow your YouTube audience, grow your business around it so that you can continue to reach more people and change their lives with the message that you're spreading and the business that you're growing. And we're just so thankful you make us a small part of that here today. I am joined for this episode with Ingrid.
Hi.
I used to say you're one of the YouTube and Sam, by the way. Sam's here too. Hi, Sam.
Oh, hi.
Sorry.
by the way,
I didn't mean for that to come off the way it did.
Here,
yeah. So both of them are YouTube strategists here at the Video Creators team, working with our clients, helping them achieve amazing results. But Ingrid, you recently got promoted.
That's right.
Yeah. So now Ingrid is now the Video Creators manager. Which, what does that mean, Ingrid?
Right. Basically, I get to do everything that you used to do.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
All the fun things, help them manage, make sure the day-to-day of video creators runs flawlessly.
Yeah. Since being acquired by vidIQ, more and more of my time is going over to building out some things on the vidIQ side so that the coaching that we do here at Video Creators can become integrated into vidIQ product and things. And so we're excited about that. But Ingrid took over Video Creators, so I can focus more time on doing that. And along with Ingrid taking over, that means Sam is now also a YouTube strategist, but now moving to not just do our group coaching and our one-on-one coaching, but also now doing our one-on-one 1 hour sessions, but now our longer term clients that people we're signing contracts with and diving into their data and analytics and doing all their custom strategy for them. So how's that been for you so far, Sam?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm doing a lot of training, so haven't quite jumped in with anything just yet, but I'm really excited. Yeah, I think more of the relational, being able to spend more time and just kind of get to know some of the creators that we work with. I'm just really excited for that.
That's awesome.
You should have seen him geek out over analytics, is all I got to say. He loves getting in deep over spreadsheets and all the things that YouTube gives us.
Yeah, Sam and spreadsheets go together like ice cream and a chocolate drizzle on top. I just made that up, but I think it's fair. I think it works.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, today I want to talk with you both about this topic of helping creators create a stronger emotional connection with their audience. I think we see the impact and the power of emotional connection in a lot of different areas. Harvard Business Review found that connected and engaged employees are 87% less likely to leave an organization. I found that to be true here at Video Creators. I learned very quickly that turnover is really expensive, So creating a really positive culture where people enjoy working around a mission that they're passionate about, like those things go really far away, not only keeping employees engaged, but even business owners, myself engaged. Like I want to create that kind of place that I want to work at too, because of the emotional connection that happens between us here at Video Creators. We share a lot of personal stuff in our business, in our weekly team meetings and things. But I think this also translates to what we're talking about here today with YouTube. If we want to hold people's attention, emotional connection is a really predictable way of doing that. And so I want to dive in with you two ways we can actually do that, keep our audience engaged, develop a really loyal audience, and really boost the satisfaction that viewers feel with our content, because that's a really big factor in how the algorithm just determines how they're going to position and surface content to people, and surfacing the right video to the right viewer at the right time. So all of that is really, really important. And I'm looking forward into diving into that with you guys here today. Before we dive into that topic, though, we want to introduce you to this week's Creator Spotlight. Every week, we just introduce you to a creator who's doing some cool stuff on YouTube and learn some lessons from what they're doing and how that can maybe help us on our own channels and our own endeavors on YouTube. Sam, you recently worked with Samantha Lopez. We're going to cut to a clip from her in a second, but can you tell us a little bit about her story? Just kind of introduce us to Samantha.
Yeah, definitely. So Samantha just finished up going through Video Labs. She was working with Amitha. The two of them have a channel called Farmhouse by Amitha, doing a lot of interior design and that kind of modern farmhouse style. Very, very cool stuff. So they just finished up going through Video Labs, and they were just running into a lot of roadblocks previously with I think trying to game the algorithm and just kind of almost having the creativity sucked out of them, just trying to find success and finding it frustrating. So they really started to see some success and kind of get that creativity back, which was exciting for them. So they're pumped moving forward after going through Video Labs, and Samantha shares some of that in her story here in this Creator Spotlight.
We used to kind of vaguely brainstorm topics for the channel, and then we would be like, okay, we have this concept, let's hit record. And so it would take hours to film, and then it would take even more hours for me to edit them. And because it was following this loose concept that we just started recording, it was kind of a painful process for us. And I found that with the Farmhouse by Amitha channel, there was a lot of conflict with how we approached the content creation. We would take all those hours with filming and then editing, and then Amitha and I would kind of spend time afterwards, like, okay, what should we do for the thumbnail? What should we do for the title, the description, all of these things? We'd get caught up in SEO. And while we were both very passionate about content creation, approaching it this way kind of sucked the fun and the life out of it. And so it wasn't until Amitha found Tim with the Video Labs course that we were able to introduce this new approach to content creation. And our minds were so blown by this that the order that we were doing things was just completely wrong for us. Now we realized that we had to do things in reverse order. We're not, okay, here's the idea, let's hit record. It's like, no, let's dial it back. What's the keyword that you want to focus on? What's the title? What kind of thumbnail do you want to use? And how are you going to continue telling this story once you do hit record? And so once we started doing that, creating content was so simple for us. Like, it was stupidly simple. And we were like, oh my goodness, how are we not doing this the whole time? So now we're excited to film content again. And we have this long list of ideas that we want to plow through. We started scripting things, and we know where we're going. Even though we do have quite a ways to go, we know how to approach it. We know how to get there, and we're excited to create content again.
That's awesome. I love it when I hear people get excited about it, because like what you did in that with them, Sam, and Video Labs is exactly what we're talking about here today. It's like they got emotionally involved. They start getting like excited about it, and now you can see they're way far more. If that's good, proper English, way more. What's the right word? Likely. There we go. To make those videos and to find success. They have new energy behind it. And that was because going through this process of Video Labs not only gave them good information, but made them feel something, and which is exactly what we're trying to do with our content too. Not just get good information, but make them feel something. And so good job, Sam. Love what you did with him. And for the rest of you, if you're like, hey, what is Video Labs all about? We'd be happy to talk with you about it. It's our 8-week group coaching program that we run through with creators. It's our advanced level, like YouTube advanced. It's advanced YouTube tactics and strategies and stuff. It includes access to the introductory stuff if that's where you're at too. But it's kind of for the next level, people who are already have a couple, maybe 1,000 subscribers and are trying to get to like the 100,000 subscriber mark or even the million. That's what that's designed for. But we'd love to just talk with you and just kind of see where you're at. We want to hear your story and understand a little bit about what you're trying to do on YouTube and your unique challenges and roadblocks, and just talk with you about whether or not we have a good solution for you, how we can work with you going forward. If you go to videocreators.com/discovery call, or click the link in the show notes of this episode. You can go there and find a time on one of our calendars. I think Sam's still doing them, but I think we might have some other people jumping in and doing those now pretty soon here too. So go to videocreators.com/discovery call and get one of our calendars. And we'd love to have a 15-minute conversation with you. Just hear your story and talk about like how we can help you move forward with where you're at. And then it's your choice. Totally free. Doesn't cost you anything. No pressure or anything. Just want to hear your story and see how we can help. That's all. So videocreators.com/discovery call, and hopefully we'll see you there. Ingrid, you're actually the one who brought up this topic for us to discuss today around emotional connection. I would love for you to kind of share with us how you experience this and how you handle this with your clients, and kind of walk us through this conversation here today.
Yeah, I see this as really, like you said earlier in the episode, it's a common problem that we see with a lot of creators. There's a lot of content on YouTube where we have a lot of how-to channels, for instance, for those of you that have how-to channels, and we have a lot of experts out there. And so we're always crafting a lot of information to share. But I find it fascinating that so many creators, they're so worried about getting the video so perfect, and they cut out all the life of a video, I feel, right? I don't know. Do you guys feel like that?
Oh yeah. Like all you need is a few comments to be like, get to the point. Like we get it on this podcast too. Like we cut out the catch ups, could be like, get to the point. Like we don't like all the fluff in the beginning. And, but we're like, no, we need something for people to connect to emotionally. And we look at the audience retention graphs, and people don't skip, so they're still listening, even though they say don't like it. But yeah, you can totally take a piece of content and cut out all the fluff, and then just have a really good piece of content that delivers on like something educational, maybe, for example. But 2 hours later, someone watched that video, they'll never remember who that creator was or what channel it was on. It was like, you're just way too forgettable because there was no emotional connection,
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I think there's probably a lot of fear with creators when they are clicking record, and especially editing, that I need to hyper edit out every single bit of dead space and every and every maybe small tangent that I made to, it's almost overcorrecting too much, where the content in the video becomes 100% about whatever they're teaching you to do, whatever that thing is, so much so that, like Tim, what you just said, they can't even make a connection with you because they got exactly what they needed, and there was no reason for them to stick around or feel any sort of connection or anything like that. So overcorrecting can be just as dangerous.
So we talk a lot about primal branding. And for those of you where that's a new term, Primal Branding is a book by Patrick Hanlon. I wanted to kind of have a practical conversation around primal branding today. A lot of times we talk about what it is, but like, what are some ways that you've worked with creators on actually implementing it in their content?
Well, I think it might be helpful to do a quick catch up for people who aren't familiar with primal branding. It's just a primal code he put together. These 7 elements are present whenever people quickly fall in love with a brand or a content creator or whatever. And the 7 things are: creation story. Who are you? Where'd you come from? 2, your creed. What do you believe? Why does this matter to you? Number 3, it is the icons. Like, what are the visual representations that remind us of this brand? Number 4, what are the rituals? those repeated interactions that people grow to love and expect in every video or piece of content from you. Number 5, who are the non-believers, the people that you say that you're not. Number 6, those are the sacred words. These are the common inside language that you use with a brand that the people who follow you will know that language and what it means, and it makes them feel like they're an insider here, like they belong to this community. And then finally, number 7, it is who is the leader? Who is the person whose story that we love, who is embodying this belief for us, this creed, who is presenting us with the icons, who's performing the rituals, who is leading the charge against the non-believers, who is teaching us the sacred words. Who is that? Like that? Who is that? So, like, you're basically forming a cult. is what it is, right? So, but that's what we want. We want to develop a cult-like following on our channel, like these people, and that's who just love what we're doing because it's so valuable. And it's not just because it's so valuable from an information perspective, like they couldn't get that information anywhere else on the internet for free. It's just that they really love this person or this brand or this creator and how they present it, and they just think in their heads, the viewers just think like, oh, I just love their videos. They make good videos. But defining good is really subjective. And this is one way you can define what makes for good content, is because it made people feel something. The viewer only knows to express that as a good video. But we as creators and strategists know, like, no, we gave the viewer these 7 signals, maybe not all 7 in every piece of content, but we gave them these 7 signals, and that's what they're emotionally reacting to in this piece of content. So the book is really good. It goes into more of them in more detail. But yeah, practical ways for implementing that. I mean, usually what I do with creators is I just say, like, hey, who are you? How'd you get started on YouTube? Or how'd you get started in this industry or this thing or whatever it is you're talking about? And I just walk them through it. I'm like, well, why does that matter to you? The creed, and go through all 7 of them and help them kind of form their Primal brand right there with me on the call. And then we'll talk about, okay, well, how do you implement that into your content? And it goes back to what you said, Sam. It's often like parenthetical little side comments and things that typically would get edited out, but it's you're doing a video about fixing a car, and instead of only doing like step 1, step 2, step 3, instead you're like, oh, this part right here, I hate doing this part. There's one time I did this and this thing happened, that thing happened, I hated it, and then it's just like a little side comment. It doesn't really have much to do, but you're recalling back to another story and bringing it in. And that's the type of thing that people will connect to, especially creeds, because the strongest communities, online and offline, they always revolve around shared beliefs, not just common interests. So I'm fixing the car because the belief behind why that matters will get people emotionally engaged far more than the fact that you're just fixing a car, for example.
Yeah. And I think that too, with a lot of my clients, you talk about something like this and immediately they think, I have to do this all right now. Because I think it's very practical step is to ideate a list of what your primal branding elements are, even in the first place, so that you almost even have a checklist for yourself. And then just to practically just start working it into your content. And if you don't even know what they are, do you want to force it? You don't want to force it, right? These are things that you're naturally already doing. And if you can't identify them, ask the people around you. What do I do? Is there anything, what are my beliefs? What do I stand against? What are the rituals, things that I do ritualistically, and go from there. I find that starting with a little bit about your creation story and starting with some beliefs and maybe working in some rituals is a good place. Because if you try to do too much all at once, then it becomes overwhelming.
I totally agree. I think another thing that just popped in my head too is, I think, at least I'm not sure if you guys have run into this, but some of the creators that I've worked with where we've talked about primal branding, sometimes it feels too like YouTube-y, quote unquote. Like some of these, if we're going to do like rituals or sacred words or even some creation story, things like this, it can maybe feel synonymous with this is like YouTube-y, like kind of those like flashy YouTubers. And usually the first response I get is like, yeah, I'm just teaching people how to like so like I'm not going to be doing the things that these people are doing. And I think that the thing I always say back to that is like, make it unique to you. Like, don't overthink it too. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Your sacred words and your rituals could look totally different from this person over here who's maybe very YouTube-y, quote unquote, again. But it doesn't have to be super silly, goofy. Like, you can be introverted and pretty chill and not this super outgoing person. And you can still have really powerful primal branding for your target audience and how they connect with that with you.
Yeah. And I find that primal branding is a great way to actually start getting people to connect with you. So now that you've got that connection, that can create opportunities for further engagement, because that's really what it's all about. When you feel connected to a creator, you want to be a part of the conversation that's happening in the room, right? So what are some like specific simple things that creators can do to maybe increase the likelihood that a viewer is going to engage with your content?
Well, I think the emotional connection needs to be there first, right? And that comes to some of the things we talked about: sharing beliefs, telling stories, rituals, creeds, icons, all that kind of stuff. And then after that's established, then when you ask them to do something like engage, I think they're far more, I know they're far more likely to actually take you up on that offer and engage. If they're not emotionally connected, you can ask them all day long to do engagement type things, and they're like, "Why? I don't care." If assuming they're even there to hear that call to action or that request in the first place. So once the relationship, the parasocial, I almost said paranormal. That's not right. Parasocial relationship is set up, then when you ask them at the end to like leave a specific comment, or you say something like, "Guys, this is how I handle this in this situation, but I would love to hear from you. Like, how do you guys handle this? Like, I know you guys have lots of ideas that I probably would have never thought of before. Every time I read the comments, I'm learning from you. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. If you're watching this right now and you're trying to figure this out too, like, you should go down there and read the comments from other people. Like, you are going to get probably way more from them than you ever got from me here." Like, really just like, what's the right word? Hype it up. Don't just be like, comment, subscribe, bye. No one's gonna be like, what? No one does that, because you said like, comment, subscribe. But if you give them like a really clear call to action, I don't. Even when they beg me to, I'm like, nah. Unless it's like a friend of mine or someone I know or something like that, then I might. But for the most part, I don't. Yeah. So making a specific request for a comment, I've found will work a lot better in terms of engagement for comments anyway. There's other forms of engagement, but works better than just like a comment, subscribe, bye, type thing.
Yeah, even maybe just to tag onto that too, if you are going to do a specific question, maybe you have your question be tied to a creed potentially. If you inserted some primal branding, like a belief or something, if you're talking about like a product or something that you use, I don't know, maybe you have a video about why Apple computers are way better than PC computers, something like that. We may or may not be invested on our own team. May have poked some pain points.
There's only one right answer to that.
But if you were to
tell us in the comments.
Exactly. See, that's exactly what I'm getting at. If you kind of form your question around whatever belief you're sharing in your video, you'll probably get some fired up people jumping down in the comments and wanting to engage.
Let's vote right now. Let's vote. Mac or PC?
That's not fair.
Go ahead, Sam.
All four Macs say aye.
Aye. Okay.
I'm going to come to one of these someday taking a bite out of Apple.
There's already a bite out of the Apple on my MacBook. But see, like I did that kind of intentionally. That's a little parenthetical thing that has nothing to do with the content we're talking about, but it's a little human thing. And those are the types of thing that people will be more likely to smile at or pay attention to. And it technically detracted from our content, and you could cut that part out about the Mac versus PC and have shorter content. But people, if you're on that, Mac versus PC thing anyway, you felt something, a little bit more than us just delivering content, right? So sorry, I used that as an example, Ingrid, but you kind of like just underhand lob
I'm used
there.
to it
So
by
I just
now.
went with it.
I'm used to it by now. I just love how Sam has jumped on that train. Has no problem saying that to me every day now.
I'm learning well.
We have 2 new employees coming here in the next few weeks. So 2 new YouTube strategists are joining the team. I don't know. I didn't ask them in their interviews. That should have been an interview question.
I know
a
this
pre-qualification.
Answer, actually.
Are they both? I think they're both Windows.
No, I don't believe they are.
Oh, poor Ingrid.
I know one of them is not. Yes, I'm very sad. Very
Still
sad.
in the minority.
Everybody feels bad for me now. So all this is great, and I love this conversation. But there's a key viewer signal that the algorithm is always looking for that people also forget about. So, and that would be, how do you get somebody to come back? So now we've got them connected, right? We got them to engage. How do we get them to come back? So we all know that YouTube does surveys. We've probably all seen them at some point. YouTube has those, are they smiley faces? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, the satisfaction surveys. Yeah, it's like a little blue strip below the video in the home feed. And it just asks you, is this a good recommendation for you? Or was this a good recommendation for you? I think it's, And then you just tap the smiley face or an emoji based on your emotion. And then it expands and gives us more info. Yeah, and they collect millions of those a day and use that to make predictions on how satisfied people are with that piece of content.
Yeah, but we have zero control over that, because that's a great reference
into the
point
data
for them. Right, exactly. So there's really not a clear metric for this, except in recent months, YouTube has added the fact that you have new viewers and returning viewers. That's about as close as you're going to get on the back end. So I'm curious, what are some other practical things that people can do to keep an audience coming back so that YouTube knows they're satisfied?
Well, the number one thing is just to make freaking amazing content like we're doing right here, right now. It's just like, there's no substitute. It doesn't matter what you do. If the content is lame and people aren't connecting with it, there's no amount of share it on this social platform and optimize this way, that way. It doesn't work. You have to optimize for people, not robots. So if you're optimizing for robots, or if you're trying to optimize for people, but people are just not connecting, then it doesn't really matter what else you do. So, instead I would just focus on just staying in front of that audience whenever you can, assuming, of course, that the content is engaging. And by engaging, I mean creating emotional connection. It's facilitating responses, and people want more. More of that can keep people engaged and help them engage with those community posts on your community tab on your channel, whether that's using YouTube stories, YouTube shorts, whether that's using Instagram for some of those things, or TikTok or whatever, just wherever you can kind of continue to stay in front of them, I feel like is a good option. With the caveat, of course, that not everybody can be everywhere and do all things for all people all the time. Because usually when you hear stuff like that, you're like, I got to do that too. I got to be in front of that. No, just pick. Here at Video Creators, we love doing the podcast. It doesn't take nearly as much time from us as doing a YouTube video. And we found that most of our sales were not, and our best customers were not coming from the channel. So we, as a YouTube growth strategy agency, we kind of just way backed off on the channel and started focusing on where are our people? And it's better to be in front of 10 of the right people here than 1,000 of the wrong people over there. So I'm saying that it's good to stay in front of people, but not to the detriment of all efforts are considered equal, depending on what your goals are for your content, right?
Yeah. And I find that the nice thing about some of the tools that YouTube does give you, like community posts and stories. What's nice about community posts is they make it easy. You can schedule those, so it's a little bit of an easier lift. And YouTube stories, the only thing about that is you need to have 10,000 subscribers in order to be able to enable that. But there are a lot of big creators that have rituals, even like Sophia Nygaard. I subscribe to her, and she, before putting out every single video, she gives you like a little sneak peek. And it's become a ritual on the channel. So it's kind of like ties into Primal branding, but yet it's also connecting with your audience in just a fun little low-key way. It doesn't involve an edit. It's an easier lift. And it's just a way to connect with your audience.
We try to keep rituals even in these episodes where I open up every episode with, hello, creators. How are you guys? And I say just like that every time. If I was like, instead, hey, guys, how's it going? Welcome to it'd be weird, right?
It would be very weird.
Not only because the energy is super low, but also just because it's it's not what people, it's not the ritual. And then having creator spotlights is like a ritual, and making fun of Ingrid on PC should become a ritual. Like it already is.
It is a ritual.
It is at this point, yeah.
But I think what would be cool to do would be to ask you who are listening to this episode. We were thinking it would be fun to do a whole episode in the future here, just featuring you and your tips for how you have engaged your audience around your channel. Engagement is a pretty broad word there. So you could use that to mean like interactions with comments, or engagement in terms of transactions into sales, or you could talk about engagement in terms of just longer watch time. All those are all different forms of engagement. So there's a link in the show notes here, speakpipe.com/video creators. And we'd love for you to send us an audio message, or it's just easy to do straight from your phone or computer, wherever you're at, and record us. I think you get like a minute and a half or something like that to record your tip or your experience, or how you have increased engagement in any of those areas. And let's do an episode here soon, assuming we get enough responses from you all that we can stitch together, and Ingrid, Sam, and I can maybe respond to it, add some of our own ideas on top of those ideas, and just be fun, maybe community episodes. We haven't done one of those before. I think it'd be fun to try. Yeah. So speakpipe.com/video creators, or tap the link in the show notes, and let's hear your stories and make something of it for a future episode. Every week, we wrap up our episode with a power tip, something practical you can use on your channel right now in order to grow. And as you're growing your channel, we think it's important that you understand some changes that have been happening on YouTube recently, some pretty big ones. Ingrid, what's been going on over at the Big Red?
Yeah, the Big Red. Yeah. Speaking of the Big Red, they have made some serious visual changes. Now, I know that none of us like change. We don't like it when people move our cheese, but YouTube, they actually didn't just do this on a whim. They held a user study and focus group with over 20,000 users. And what they found out was those users, they really wanted to have some visual updates that were really meant to foster a more immersive experience, for creators and viewers. Nothing's changing functionality wise. It's all just about the looks. So these are all meant to really streamline and modernize the user experience on YouTube. Probably one of the biggest one that I think most people have noticed is, speaking of the Big Red, the red subscribe button has changed, right? You're laughing.
Is that inside creator sacred language now? Big Red.
I don't know. Is it?
TikTok is a double T. Facebook,
the subscriber button is now black. I know. And I've even seen stories and shorts about how they want it to go back to red, so many creators. But it's all also lowercase. That's also been a change. And one of the cool things is when people actually hit the subscribe button, now it immediately changes to subscribed. Little tiny visual things, right? It's more prominent, and it's closer to the channel name on desktop, and it's higher up on mobile. So one of the things that you also want to kind of realize are the buttons have changed. They're also a little bit more rounded. I feel like Apple somehow has come into play here. right? Because isn't the
Well, the
iPhone
thumbnails
very
are more
rounded?
rounded too now. The corners
Yes,
are.
they are.
Yeah.
Everything is a little
So
bit more
modern
rounded.
looking.
Yep, very modern looking, which is what they're trying to do. Now, if you make a border around your thumbnails, though, you have to kind of adjust for that, right? Because otherwise, it'll be blank on the edges.
I predict that if you're using Apple as an example, everything goes from like highly, and cars too follow this, highly chiseled and sharp edges to more rounded ones, and then it goes back to sharp and chiseled and then more rounded. So I think, if you look at other industries, that's kind of the trend. So I don't know, give it another 10 years maybe, we'll be back to sharp corners and more chiseled edges again, I think. But I don't know.
I think
I'm just picking that up.
That was kind of like one of the biggest changes that we've seen. They're also making changes to the long blue URLs in your video description. They're now going to be formatted as clickable buttons that are composed of YouTube and how do you say favicon? How do you say that word?
I say fav, but it's probably wrong.
I was gonna say fave. I read it like fave because
I think it is favicon though. Yeah.
Okay.
For a guy who makes his living on the internet, I should know that one.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
It's my fav.
They're also going to be formatted for the title of the content as well. This is going to apply to all YouTube video titles, channel names, and playlists, and it will also make YouTube links more easily recognizable, which is kind of cool. I think that's a pretty big change. Playlists, those are going to have a variety of design changes to improve the look and feel of the playlist page. So playlists will adopt a similar dynamic color sampling treatment as ambient mode, which is a new thing that's coming to videos that are going to be seen on darkened mobile phone. So what they're going to do is they're going to pull some of the colors out so that the viewer has a little bit more of an immersive experience. I think that's actually probably one of the coolest changes. And their playlists are also now going to show more details about each playlist so viewers can more easily jump right in.
YouTube is like a pretty well designed machine when like tinkering comes down to like, let's add more color to the background of the thing,
I know.
It's like, what else could we tweak here? Like, no, someone's job over there is to come up with ideas and look at this. And I'm glad they're always improving and making it better. But I'm like, wow, this is where we're at now. Just like these,
Yep.
And they feel like minor things. I know they're all user tested and have better results and experiences overall on the platform. And you multiply that across billions of users, it makes a big difference. So I'm not belittling it. I'm just like, we aren't taking like hard left turns here. We're just talking about like colors and shapes at this point.
Right.
But this is like a big list, right? This was not a small undertaking.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that helps you guys understand how YouTube's changing so you can stay on top of your own content strategy, and especially the buttons in the description, turning links into buttons. That's going to be different for sure. So, there you go. Hope that helps. And we will see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.